Hello and welcome back to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Mayer, and I'm super excited to have you with us today. Before we dive in, a quick reminder to check us out at manufacturingculturepodcast.com or themfgconnector.com for all our latest episodes and updates. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram to join our community and stay connected with everything that we're doing. Today, we've got a fantastic episode lined up for you. Our guests, yes, guests, plural, are two rock stars in the digital marketing world, specifically for the manufacturing industry, Chad Spaude and Ann Cotter from Top Floor. First up, we have Chad Spaude, the owner of Top Floor. Chad started his journey with Top Floor nearly 11 years ago, diving into website design and development. He's led the charge in innovation and growth, helping manufacturing companies elevate their digital marketing game with stellar website designs and integrated marketing campaigns. Chad's all about bringing his team together to deliver results they can be proud of. When he's not working his magic at Top Floor, Chad loves adventuring with his wife and their two kids, always bringing a sense of fun to everything they do. Joining Chad is Ann Cotter, the Director of Sales and Marketing at Top Floor, and a wonderful human being, by the way. Ann's been on a marketing journey since she graduated college, quickly mastering digital tactics like SEO, PPC, and social media to help her manufacturing clients succeed. She joined Top Floor's internal sales and marketing team last year, focusing on building meaningful connections and partnerships within this awesome world of manufacturing. Anne loves exploring Milwaukee with her husband and traveling to new cities whenever she can, always on the hunt for delicious food. In 2023, Chad and Anne launched their own podcast, The Marketing Schematic, to bridge the gap between manufacturers and marketers. They nerd out every other week about digital marketing and learn from other industry experts on how to stay ahead of the curve. It's an awesome show. I've been on it. If you haven't heard it, listen to it today. After you listen to this one, of course. So get ready for an episode packed with insight stories and tons of marketing wisdom. Let's dive in and hear how Chad and Ann are transforming the digital landscape for manufacturers and enhancing company cultures through innovative sales and marketing strategies. Welcome to the show, Chad and Ann. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, what
Yeah.
an introduction.
I know. Really hyping us up. Thank you so much.
You are a true pro. I love it.
So Chad, I'm going to start with you. I start every episode with talking about people's journeys, right? How did they get to where they are now? So share your journey within Top Floor and how you became the owner of this organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I think it's important to note is that I never saw myself as a business owner, certainly not a owner of a marketing agency. I started in school in nursing, I think, and then went to the School of Business, was politely asked to leave for a little while to take some time off. Came back in, and I never forget my academic advisor was like, the School of Business, they don't require as high a GPA as the School of Nursing. You might want to check that out. So that's going way back. That's where I got my start. But then my first job out of college was one of those marketing jobs, but it was really like a door-to-door kind of sales type thing.
Yeah.
Did that for a couple of years, then started at Top Floor in the account management side of the business. So taking care of our clients, really being that kind of customer service slash kind of customer relationship person for some of those clients. Moved into the kind of development and design side of the business. So working on some of our larger website projects, development projects, that sort of thing. And then from there, kind of a natural progression was managing that department within Top Floor. I'm not a developer. I always like to tell people that. I'm not a designer, certainly not a designer. But I just took a liking towards that. I kind of gravitated towards it. I liked making things, in our own way, making websites, making campaigns, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then about going on about 6 years ago, I think now, the owner of Top Floor at the time, we've been around for 23 years, approached and said to me, and I'm actually co-owner of Top Floor, so shout out to Justin Curley if you're
Sorry,
listening to this.
Justin, didn't mean to
No,
leave you out.
all good, all good. So he approached me and Justin at the time, and we were on the management team, and he basically said, "Hey, I'm getting older. I want to move to Florida and eventually and golf, as a majority of older people do, right? High percentage of the population.
Yep.
My kid's a vet. My other kid doesn't really want. My one kid's in the Air Force. My other kid doesn't really want anything to do with Top Floor long term. So I'd love the legacy to continue. Do you or Justin or both of you have an interest in maybe kind of carrying on that legacy and purchasing the company from me?" And after a lot of conversations and soul searching with our significant others and each other, a lot of afternoon lunches with maybe some drinks and talking through things,
It's the
we
best
kind of,
time.
yeah, exactly. It was we knew a couple of things. We knew that we really liked working with each other. We knew that we really loved what we do. And we knew that our personalities, we had a lot of similarities, but also we had a lot of differences, and we played a lot off of each other. So where I'm more of the kind of outgoing personality, kind of out there, meet and greet with people, know everyone in my small town here in Milwaukee, Justin always says. He's more of the reserve type, the analytical type, the financial person, all that sort of stuff. And we play really well off of each other. And so we said, "Hey, what the heck, man? If you're in, I'm in. We'll never get an opportunity like this again." Someone is taking an established business and asking us if we want to, put our lives on the line. Basically, we got to sign up for all those contracts and things to be able to purchase a company. But in the end, it was we thought it was the right decision for us and for our families, and so we did it. And it's been 3 years here coming up in a week since we took that leap, and things are going well. I think as much as I know.
And with that, we'll go to Ann.
Yeah, exactly. You may have to ask Ann off the record whether or not she feels the same. But yeah, let's hear Ann's take on that. But that's kind of my story.
No, that's awesome, and congratulations. 3 years is a massive milestone, right? I mean, your Justin is into the data and the analytics, but the analytics behind the number of businesses that failed before they hit that 3-year mark is astronomical, right? So
Absolutely.
Hitting that is a testament to some great leadership, great product, great team, and so congratulations. Definitely something to be proud of there.
Yeah, thank you.
And let's move to you.
Okay.
You don't have to answer any of the leading stuff that Chad kind of dangled in front of you there. I'm more interested, and I think our listeners are more interested. How did you get started in the world of marketing, and what led you to join Top Floor? And to me, more importantly, go internal, right? Because that's a big shift from what your role was before you went internal. So tell us about your journey there, Ann.
Yes, I will. And just to bounce off what you were saying, Chad, I will say I am very happy with, I think, where our company is right now. And I think we're in the best spot that I've known since I've been here in my 7 years. So I will go back to that and say, yes, you're right. I think it's going well.
It's not just me. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate
it's not just
that.
you.
Awesome.
Yeah. But starting through my journey, so I think kind of like Chad, my role, or I guess goals in life, were not ever very linear, and I never really knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I knew, back in high school, my parents were very much like, you go to college and then potentially get, a higher degree after that, MBA, something like that. So when it comes to even the world of manufacturing, I just was not exposed to that from a very young age. So that was definitely not on my radar. And then even marketing was not really on my radar either. So when I went to college, I knew I really liked art. So I started with going into getting an art degree, which then translated into art history. I started to have a passion for. So I have a double major in art history and communications, which is not super lucrative, but that's where I started, and graduated college. And I was like, okay, great. Like, what do I do with this now? So I everything in my story is just kind of like, it just sort of fell into place.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah. But yeah, so I had some experience through college, through various internships, kind of doing essentially like PR and marketing for different art galleries in Madison. So I went to UW-Madison. And I was like, okay, like I kind of liked this part of working in these organizations. I liked working in the back end of the website. I liked doing the email marketing, the social, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, maybe there's something there. I have a communications background. So let's use those skills and see kind of what jobs are out there. And I landed on top floor, found an entry level role. And I was like, just take a chance and apply and see what happens. And it all worked out. I was hired and
Wow.
had no marketing, real marketing, digital marketing experience at that point. Didn't know a thing about SEO or paid search or any of that. So I started basically kind of learning the ropes, and then from there went into more of a strategist role. So overseeing our clients' accounts and
Hmm.
kind of looking at the different pieces of SEO, content marketing, paid search, and just how do those channels actually play into each other and work together? And how can we leverage them to actually reach the overarching goals that our manufacturing companies really care about?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I went into, I guess, more of a strategic role. And then I would say 2 years ago or so, Chad and Justin approached me about basically taking those talents and that skill set to top floor directly and into our internal sales and marketing team. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, Chad, but I always felt like my next step in my career path, whether it was at top floor or somewhere else, was I wanted to be internal one day. I agency life has its challenges. You have a roster of 15 to 20 clients. You gotta, keep happy. And I think I was pretty good at that. I won't lie. But I also knew that I wanted to put all my focus in one place. So it was really a natural fit for me. And kind of in that same time frame was when I'd say we started as an organization to go all in on manufacturing, and that kind of being where we really wanted to grow our business. We've done B2B in a variety of different industries, but we felt like there was a lot of opportunity with manufacturers, and the manufacturers that we worked with being kind of smaller to mid-size, not having that marketing team in-house or
Yeah.
having a team of one who's like, I need help. Like I'm wearing so many hats right now. And we have a lot of experience in that area. So we've kind of just dove headfirst into that. So really kind of my focus now with Top Floor on the sales and marketing team is just, like you said in my bio, to kind of just immerse ourselves in manufacturing and finding, podcasts to be on and organizations to be a part of. We just sponsored the Wisconsin Center of Manufacturing and Productivity. They put out a yearly report. They're part of the MEP network. So we're a sponsor for them and kind of getting involved in the stuff that they do each year, and just trying to remain educated in the manufacturing space since we're not, boots to the ground
Yeah.
inside shop floors every day. It helps us to kind of know what's going on in the manufacturing space. And it's not just about generating business, but for us to stay ahead and know, what's going on, what's trending, things like that. So,
Yeah. Awesome. This is a manufacturing culture podcast, right? Let's talk about
Mhm.
digital marketing and company culture. How does digital marketing affect that company culture? We kind of alluded to it, Chad, talking about how over the last 3 years you've seen more people going that direction to use their space as a way to build out their workforce. How does it affect the internal company culture?
I think something that we talked about when you were on our podcast, Jim, is asking you kind of like, what does culture mean to you? And I think you said something along the lines of like saying what your values are and aligning them with your actions, essentially.
Yep.
And it's kind of like, I think of it the same way as I think of just like marketing for business, essentially. Like you put out your brand values, you put out who you are as a company. But when a customer comes in, is that actually the experience that they're getting? And I think it translates one to one essentially with internal culture in manufacturing companies. And you can do all the marketing in the world for we've got these positions, but if they come to a website or a place that looks like, I don't see anything about their values, I don't see real people, I don't see what are their benefits, what's the culture like there, and I don't feel convinced by, what it is they're saying about their culture, marketing is kind of like a lost cause at that point. Like, it has to
Sure.
start internally, and you actually identify your internal brand values and your core values as a company, expressing those things to your employees and showing you the ways that you actually live up to those things before you can even start, highlighting them on LinkedIn or in other places like that or on your website. So I kind of just see it as a very similar process that you would take to just general marketing for new business. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I look at it.
Chad,
Yeah.
anything to add there?
I think that's a really good point, and I think another roundabout way that my kind of brain thinks about it is everyone wants to. I think at least most people want to be successful, and I think work at a company that is successful.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing you want to do is go in day out, knowing that you're the, let's say out of 100 companies, you're the 100th successful machine shop in Wisconsin or something along those lines. Like, it just kind of,
Right.
it beats your morale a little bit,
Yeah.
So I think definitely on the marketing side of things can help companies be successful, and that's one way that I look at it as, like, you're showing your employees and you're showing the people that you work with that you're invested from more of like a leadership or ownership standpoint by investing in your own marketing. Certainly something, since Anne has come on at Top Floor, actually, in our own experiences, she's got a lot of really good ideas and a lot of really good things that she wants to do. A lot of times they cost money, right? And money that Justin and I have to ultimately, approve and sign the check for. And the last thing we want to do is like stymie her enthusiasm and excitement about what she's trying to do. And so I think it's super important to have that marketing side, and for us to show not only Anne, but to show the rest of the company, like, hey, we're serious about this. Like, we told you guys we want to be the number one digital marketing agency for manufacturing and industrial companies in the Midwest. Like, that's what we're going after. That's our end goal. Well, we got to put our money where our mouth is and do the marketing and put in the effort and that sort of stuff too, to kind of get everyone behind what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And to that point, I mean, there's nothing more defeating or deflating when you are a person who has ideas, right, Anne? When you go to that top brass and you say, hey, I've got this great idea, and they say, yeah, that's a great idea, but no. Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's it, just demoralizing. It's crushing it. And so good on you, Chad, for making sure that happens when Anne comes to you with those ideas. And I know it can't be 100% of the time that Anne brings in an idea that costs money, right? That you say yes, right? But for you to at least show her that you do value enough, right? And that's got to be a big deal for you.
Yeah, definitely. And something that I want to touch on too, that I think it applies to any company that you're in, that we've gone through, is actual like leadership training. And I think that is just so crucial. And I think you do some of that a little bit, Jim.
I do, yeah.
And I think it's a must have for like all managerial supervisor roles to go through some type of leadership training, because then you know how to kind of handle that situation when you hear an idea where you're like, I'm not so sure about this, but let me have a conversation with them before just saying no,
Right.
like, let me see where their head's at. What are they thinking? What do they think the benefits of this might be? It just teaches you essentially how to communicate as an employer. And I think all of us at Toffler have benefited from taking those types of trainings. And I mean, like I said before, any industry, any company is going to benefit from something like that. So yeah, it's well received on my end, and it's also helped me learn to be a better manager myself.
That's awesome, because any industry, right? But manufacturing, skilled trade specifically, for a lot of years, we took that approach of we will just make the best individual contributor into a leader of a division or a department, right? And provide them zero leadership development, zero skill set. And typically when you take that best at being an individual contributor, they are not the best leaders, right? The best leaders are the ones who typically are not great at what they did, right? It's because that wasn't their main skill set. So I love that you're investing, Chad and Justin, in developing those leadership skills internally within your teams, because that does then translate to your clients as well, because
Mm-hmm.
your clients will pick up on the way that you lead, Chad, that Anne leads, that Anne uses those empathy things that she learns about in leadership training, and the active listening, that will by osmosis be passed on to them in some way, so that they're then leading their teams a little bit better and a little bit differently, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I mean, so Justin and I actually went through the program first. It was called Living as a Leader up here in Wisconsin. They're
Okay.
local to the Milwaukee area, but it really changed me when I went through it. And then I think when we went through it as a management team, it changed our whole dynamic, because not only did it teach us how to lead, but it taught us how to recognize each other's leadership styles, and everyone's different, in the
Yeah.
different ways that they lead. Some of us are very data driven, some of us are very personality driven. There's different
Yep.
styles and ways in which you can lead and be successful in leading. And by understanding how each of us operate and how each of us, our personalities work, and how we deal with problems and how we come up with solutions and all that sort of stuff, it really allowed us to have really powerful, meaningful conversations to all solve a problem together, and know exactly how, just because one person is this way in a meeting doesn't mean that they're not engaged or that they're not excited about it. It's just they have a
Yeah.
different way of showing it. They have a different way of processing information, and we're
Mhm.
not all the same.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar at all with like the DISC assessment, but
Yes.
basically, yeah, we have everybody in our organization take that. And I think it's such a great thing as a manager to be able to know what someone's profile is essentially, and like
Yeah.
the way that they communicate, because the things you might perceive as like, well, why aren't they as conversational as I am? Maybe they're mad at me. Like, no,
Right.
maybe that's just their style. Maybe they are just like, I'm going to communicate with you directly when I need you. Otherwise, leave me alone. But you don't know those things unless you, I don't know, either ask the question or do something like a DISC profile.
Yeah.
So that's been really helpful too, because then you just know how to communicate with the people that you work with closely every day.
What are your profiles?
I am a high I and a high C, which are
Okay.
like opposite on
Right.
the spectrum. I don't
Yeah.
know why, but
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, Chad.
Eyes IS is me.
IS. Yeah.
Yeah, probably
That
see that
that's
a
where
little
I
bit.
am now. Yeah. Um, and what I will say about the DISC assessment is it's wild how it changes over time, right?
Yeah.
So 11 years ago, when I was more in a individual contributor role, right, a salesperson, and had already failed as a leader once in a different organization, um, I was more a DI, right, right, and so it's amazing how, as your career evolves, as you do learn, your disc profile changes as well,
Mm-hmm.
and how you can then use that and pick up on that in other people as they change, and you spend that time with them as well, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I also thought it was really interesting too how we have our profile and what is our like normal behavior in everyday life, but then we're able to like fake it in certain ways, like to be
Hmm.
I'm not a D, like in my everyday life. That's not really my personality. I'm
Right.
actually kind of shy, kind of reserved. Like I'm not gonna be the first to jump up in some new group activity and like lead, right?
Yep.
But when I'm comfortable and when I'm in that position and when I'm forced to be in that position, which owning a company, you often are forced to be in that position, like I can do it. But I talk to Ann about this all the time, because part of the duties of top floor, everyone wears many hats, but as a leadership team, we do a lot of events, webinars, roundtable events, speaking engagements, that sort of thing. I hate that. I can't stand it. I panic about it the entire time. I'm not good at preparation. But you throw me in a meeting where I have no notes, no nothing, and I can talk for hours and hours and hours, right?
Right.
But I have to fake it sometimes, and so I can become a high D if I need to be. And I just find that so amazing that like humans are capable of doing that, just to kind of to get
Adapting.
by, to adapt. Yeah, we can adapt to
Yeah.
pretty much any situation.
I
I think
wanted
something else. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Mine was just a stupid thing I was going to add to the conversation that really brought zero value. So, Anne, go right ahead.
I was going to say back to how your DISC assessment can change over time and bringing it back to culture. I think sometimes the culture also will influence your DISC assessment. So
Agreed.
I don't really know that I am like actually much of a C personality, but I think that was like my work personality. And I think when I took it, it was at a time where I was just like very like, I'm going to mind my own business. I'm just like going to get my work done. I'm going to do what's asked of me. And like that was kind of my personality in those cases. And it was definitely influenced by the work culture at that time.
Yeah.
But now that I feel like I've come into my own, then I've been given more responsibility and more trust and those kinds of things. I feel like I'm more of my actual I personality, which is my outside of work regular personality. I'm seeing that more play into my work personality, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think that's everybody's goal, right? Is to get to a point where you don't have a work and a private or personal life persona, right? You want to get to that point where you are at home the same person that you are in the office or on work calls or whatever it may be if you're working remotely or in a shop environment. You want to be that same person regardless of where you are. But I think that so many of us, because of the leadership that we're surrounded with, because of the cultures that we're in, because we all need paychecks and we can't live without those things, we adapt to those surroundings and become maybe somebody that we're not outside of that workplace. Does that make sense? Right. So
100%.
the challenge is, how do we get to that place where we don't have to switch on and off those different personas, that we can just walk in the door and be our authentic self every single day, whether we walk in the front door of our house or the front door of a shop that we're working in.
Right. Absolutely. I think the good news is, if you're out there listening to this and you're thinking like, wow, my company culture, kind of sucks, or I don't see leadership putting in an effort to it. You kind of, you have the power right now, right? You're holding the cards. We can't, day in and day out, we hear from our clients, they cannot hire skilled labor. They can't find people. Like, maybe it's time to explore your options a little bit if you feel like your company's not living up to it. We're all hiring out there, I think.
Absolutely. And I do want to start putting up, like, on the episodes, I want to start advertising jobs that are open in companies that I know are good cultural companies. I want to start putting that out there. But that's sneak preview, listeners, for what's coming in the future. Soon you'll be able to like find job openings on the Manufacturing Culture podcast.
That's awesome. I love that idea, by the way. That's so cool. But yeah, because I mean, you can't, two things, with culture that sound like no-brainers, but you can't fake it, and B, it's not something that you can just change. Like, it's not just, if your company is like, if it's bad right now and you've got a bad culture and it's historically been bad, and you're thinking that it's going to change, it's not happening anytime soon. It is a big undertaking, and it's nearly impossible to just kind of like go in and want to change it without it happening organically, without.
Well, it takes a lot of intentionality, right? From the leadership team, from top level leadership, but funneling that down through middle management all the way down to the shop floor in the world that we exist in. It's got to be lived by every single person in that organization. And if they don't live that culture that's desired, then they're not a good fit, because those values are not aligning. Going back to and remembering so well what we talked about when I was on your show. It is simply that alignment of values between the organization and the employees. So if you don't have people who are living those values and living that culture that you want, they're not a good fit. Cut them loose. More organizations need to be able to hire slow and fire fast within our industry. And too often they're so afraid of being short somebody on that CNC machine or on that press or on that mill or whatever the case may be, that they don't fire people. And that
Mm-hmm.
just breeds more and more toxicity within these organizations, to a point where then it gets to a point, Chad, what you were just kind of describing, where it's just a horrible place. And that's where you get the bad reviews on Glassdoor, and then you can't find new people to change the culture. And it's just
Snowballs.
it's a horrible snowball, vicious cycle that you end up in. So I want to go back to Top Floor, and you guys, how do you guys approach those challenges when you're talking with potential clients, and you're like, God, this place has a really shitty culture? Like, how do you approach that in then being able to do your jobs? Because I can only imagine it'd be really hard to build a campaign for a company that you're like, I wouldn't want to fucking work here, right? Like,
Yeah.
so walk us through that process, because that's got to be a challenge in itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can think of one example that comes to mind. I won't name names.
Yeah. Whoa, here we
But
go.
it's just
Buckle
one
up.
that it's one of those like one pager websites that we've been talking to them for years. Like,
Yeah.
you need to, embrace a new website for your own benefit, really. And then they came to us looking for help with, we are short on labor. Please help us run a recruitment campaign. And we actually had to basically build like through something called Unbounce, which if you're a marketer, maybe you'll know. It's basically like a landing page that lives off of your website. Designed that so it was all pretty and got pictures and stuff like that, because we couldn't point their user or their demographic of potential candidates back to their website. And it was like, we can run all of like the ads in the world, but like you're not doing anything on your website that really says anything about who you are, what it's like to work there, what your culture is like. I mean, we've never had conversations where I think we've like told them, hey, you need to work on your internal culture here. I mean, that I personally have had. I don't know about you, Chad.
No, I don't think we're brave enough, but we should. I mean, that's,
We should.
it's like, yeah, you're throwing money away. This isn't like, what are you going to do here? Like, no one
Right.
wants to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to be an effective campaign if, I mean, again, I'd give the same advice if it was, something that's more lead generating campaign. If you're not actually offering that and you're not actually living up to that, then what's the point?
Yeah, it's
you
not
have to
going to
start
work.
there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Unfortunately, in our line of work, we don't always get a full sense of culture before it's too late. There's a sales discovery process and kind of like a courting process with new clients and new relationships and stuff. And we try to do our due diligence, and there's a lot of meetings. And you try to figure it out, but if you're not in that company, day in, day out, sometimes it can be hard to get a sense for culture. I think the important thing for us and what we try to do is really understand who we're going to be working with, not make decisions on new projects or clients we take on solely based on money, right? On financial, impact, and more on, is the project a good fit? Are we able to do the things that they need to do to be successful? Do we have the internal capabilities so we're not faking it, because that just ends in bad relationships?
Yeah.
And then it's, do we work well together? I mean, I sit in so many different discovery calls with new companies, and that's honestly the single most important thing when we're taking on a new engagement, or we're, a company's looking to work with us, is, are you going to like working with us? Because even if it is just like a finite project, we're talking about 6 months of your life where you're talking to someone at Top Floor 3-4 times a week at least.
Right.
And if you don't like working with that person day in and day out, no matter how good of a job the end result does, it's not going to be a good it's not going to be in good engagement. We're not going to continue to work with each other after it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Go ahead, Ann.
I was going to say, something that I think has helped a lot that we've really been pushing, especially now in this fully virtual world. We're fully remote, but a lot of our manufacturing clients are in the Southeast Wisconsin area. And so any opportunity that we can have, where if it's, a strategy review type meeting or a client onboarding meeting, if we can go to their location and even get like a tour, it gives us such a better sense of the culture and like how compatible both organizations are going to be together, and also just learn more about manufacturing. Like I said before, like we're not
Yeah.
boots to the ground every day. So it just helps us to kind of get a better understanding of the full picture. Normally we're only directly working with a marketing person at a
Sure.
manufacturing company. And so that really gives you visibility to, again, the full culture and everyone else at that company. So
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just
and
something that I think is really valuable.
you
Yeah.
kind of touched on it last time we talked, Jim, too. Like you can learn so much about an organization, especially in the manufacturing world, just by walking that shop floor and just kind of
Absolutely.
seeing how people interact with you, how they look
Yeah.
at you, you know, are
If
heads
they look
down,
at you.
eyes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they look at
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
So yeah, Anne's exactly
Mhm.
right. We love to not only is it fun to go see, you know, it's kind of like our own personal episodes of how it's made every day.
Yep.
We get to go check
Absolutely.
out. But also you get a real good feel for culture for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. I love it, guys. So let's switch gears because I do want to ask you a couple more questions, but we're coming up on time here. Let's talk about the podcast, the Marketing Schematic.
Mhm.
Again, I've been a guest. It's an awesome show, listeners, viewers. If you're watching this on YouTube, the Marketing Schematic is great. So, what motivated you guys to start this? And this is like been your baby, like you've rocked this and like really nurtured this thing. This has been your baby. Tell us about this a little bit.
Yeah, I think a big reason for it was just one, an additional content stream for Top Floor. We do a lot of different content. We do events, we do blogs and ebooks and that kind of stuff, but we wanted another way and another format for that content to be distributed and delivered. There's so much that we write about or put events on about, but not everyone can make those or has the time or wants to read a blog.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of translate some of the things that and the conversations that we have so often as an organization into something that everybody can access and listen to. And then the other part of it for me was really keeping ourselves educated, like holding ourselves accountable and educating ourselves in the manufacturing space. If we say that, you know, we serve this customer and that we know so much about them, that we need to hear more from those voices in a more casual format, pick their brains outside of client meetings, you know,
Yeah.
holding those conversations and again, not necessarily having all the answers, but learning from the clients that we work with and marketers in the manufacturing space, what's going on in their world, gives us a better idea of how we can better work together and better serve that demographic. So that's a big reason for the podcast for me, is because it's kind of that educational source internally as well as externally.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mhm.
Other than my episode, Chad, what's been your favorite episode so far?
Honestly, I mean, I know this is gonna sound like I'm just because I'm on your podcast that I'm gonna say this, but no, I really did enjoy ours because culture is something that is super important as a business owner, and just in general life. Culture
Yeah.
is something that's super important to me, and I think each and every conversation we have so far, knock on wood, you get into it and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, an hour has gone by, or an hour and 15 minutes have gone by, and
I just looked at the clock and I was like, holy crap, how
it's
do we get
crazy.
to
And that's how you
56
know,
minutes?
right,
Yeah.
and that's how
Yeah.
you know it's fun and enjoyable, because it's not something where you're not looking at the clock. You don't know like how
Yeah.
long things take. Yours was a great one. We just had a really good one with Ann mentioned before, with Stu Akla from Marmon Retail Solutions, which
Yeah.
it was a whole new world opened up to me as far as two things: product launches, and then he's a huge Indy 500 fan, and so we went off on a tangent on that for a while, and that's like a world I know nothing about, so it was super cool to kind of learn about that too. So that's one that's recent memory.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Ann.
I was going to
Sorry.
say one of my favorites was with Amanda King from Yamato. This was last year, I believe. And she went all into trade show branding and strategy. And that's another example of stuff that like we met at a trade show. So, you know, we go to trade shows, but we're not, you know, a lot of manufacturers go to trade shows like 20 times a year, you know.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a much larger part of their marketing strategy. So I loved that episode because I just learned so much from her about trade shows, about trade show branding, that even though we only go to one a year, I can take that knowledge with me So it's just that exchange of knowledge that I really enjoy about the podcast, and just, again, hearing from marketers who are actually in manufacturing companies and what they're learning. And hopefully that is valuable to the listeners as well.
Yeah.
Where
for
can people
sure.
find your podcast?
Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I think we're on all the platforms.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good. That's check it out, guys. If you like this show, if you have enjoyed listening to me over the course of 70 or 80 or whatever we're at episodes at this point, you're gonna love these conversations, because these two have very organic conversations with their guests as well. And that's, I think, what brings a lot of people to this podcast, is they just like hearing unscripted, just people talking, right? About manufacturing and culture and today marketing. So, guys, last question for both of you. I'm going to start with Chad. Chad, what didn't I ask you that I should have and that you want to share with the audience?
Oh man, that's such a tough question. What
That's
didn't
why I asked you
ask
first.
me? I know.
He's
Good.
giving me time.
Gave
He's
it to
giving you
me.
time to think about it.
Yeah,
I've known Ann longer. I had to give her the buffer time.
Yeah.
I guess maybe just what is the favorite part about my my job and my day-to-day at Top Floor.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of transitions or goes along well with why we started the podcast, and why Ann and I we had a meeting where we were just talking about things that we could be doing, and podcast came up. And I think it was my idea, but I don't know. It certainly, Ann runs the show.
That.
I will say this: Ann runs the show on the podcast. It's her baby for sure. She lets me be a part of it, and I'm grateful that she does. But I absolutely enjoy getting to sit down and talk to people that are usually smarter than me and doing really cool things, making really cool things, and doing things with marketing that I never thought of. Or
Sure.
it's just like trying to be a sponge from those people and learning things. And those conversations, it was like I enjoy the meetings, the day to day where I'm doing those things and meeting new clients and new people and all that sort of stuff. And the podcast was just a way to do more of that, honestly, and have those conversations and get to meet people like yourself and kind of talk and learn new stuff. So
awesome. I do have one more question for you, Chet. Is that whiskey behind your head? And if so, what is the brand?
Yeah, good question. So that it's not fancy at all. It probably could just be in the bottle, but it's actually it's Bullet Rye.
Oh, that's my favorite, man.
Yeah, I know, me
fun.
too. That's my everyday drinking bottle. Not
I like it. That's not the fancy drinking bottle. That's the everydayer. All right,
Yeah,
I like
that's the every nighter.
All right. What's your favorite whiskey?
I'm not honestly well versed in the world of whiskey.
Okay.
I think I like the Bullet for the everyday stuff. Other than that, I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right.
How about you? What's yours? Drop some knowledge on me.
Right now, I'm really onto the Angel's Envy rye. I like that a lot. It's a little bit more than the Bullet, so it can't be like that everyday drinker. Eagle Rare is, of course, very good. I'm not a massive collector. My brother in Asheville, North Carolina, he's got a closet and he's got a shelf unit in his closet, and it's like tens of thousands of dollars worth of whiskey. And
it's crazy.
We'll go out there and all right, let's do a taste test. And he'll open some like $1,000 bottle of whiskey to pour me a little nip to taste. And that is way beyond like my economic stratosphere, right? I can buy one bottle at a time and it's my everyday drinker, right? And that's it. So
I can totally appreciate, my neighbor is the same way, and I can totally appreciate like the hunt. Like I love that aspect of it. Like I'm, collecting stuff and like looking for stuff and trying to find that bottle that's rare. I think it's super cool. But I don't have time, or like you said, the budget to probably be able to do certain stuff like that.
My wife would kill me if I started hunting for whiskeys. Same. Like
all I have to do is walk across the yard and it's there readily available for me.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll stick with that strategy.
Perfect. And before we ask you what I didn't ask you, are you a whiskey drinker, or what's your drink of choice?
I I'm a wine drinker, so what
Oh.
you're saying kind of resonates in the wine category. So I'm a one bottle of wine buyer. I have graduated to like, okay, I can afford a $20 bottle of wine. So
Yeah.
that's nice. That's nice wine for me.
I think
But then that's
also
my
your favorite question to ask whenever we go out and there's a drink involved is, what kind of seltzers do you have?
yes.
Anna's a seltzer
Yes.
connoisseur. I think she's tried them all for sure.
I like
Yeah.
seltzers too. And I'll be totally honest. I drink rosé as a wine. Like that's my wine of
hmm
choice is rosé. I
hmm
live in Arizona, so it's hotter than all get out, and
Yeah.
so you need that refreshing wine. So a
hmm
good chilled rosé and a good seltzer. I'm with you on the
Love it.
seltzers. Yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah. That's
All right,
funny.
and what didn't I ask you that I should have that you want to share with the audience?
Um, I don't know that it's something that you didn't ask, but I guess my words of wisdom for the audience, what I would
Perfect.
say is just kind of going back to the very beginning of this episode that, no path is really linear. And like I kind of mentioned before, I was not exposed to really the trades at all as a youth. And whether that was parenting or just the education system, I think a lot of other avenues are opening up. And because no path is linear, you might as well take a chance on yourself. Try on different hats, see what fits, what sticks. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it won't. I feel lucky that in a lot of ways the choices I've made or the positions I've fallen into have kind of all worked out. But yeah, I would just say trust your gut, trust your instinct as you're kind of going through your career journey. And yeah,
Well,
that's
with
all I
Awesome.
have.
that was awesome. That was a mic drop moment
Yeah.
for
Oh.
Ann. I mean,
Wise beyond your
Yeah,
years.
cool.
yeah, I
I love
like
it.
it. That's going to be
Love
one
it.
of the clips of the episode for sure, Ann.
Okay.
So, folks, that wraps up another fantastic episode of the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. Today, we had a really fun, because I love these humans, but also an incredible conversation with Chad and Ann from Top Floor. We dove deep into digital marketing and how digital marketing can transform the manufacturing industry and enhance company culture within the industry itself. Thanks to Chad and Ann again for sharing their journeys, their insights, and some amazing stories and anecdotes along the way that truly showcase the power of innovative sales and marketing strategies. Folks, before you go, make sure to check out our websites at themanufacturingculturepodcast.com and the new themfgconnector.com for more episodes, resources, updates, blogs, all the things, swag. There's hats, there's shirts, there's mugs, there's all sorts of stuff, guys. I'm actually launching an entire line of shirts that have quotes from every single episode. So check out the new line of swag on the website. Connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram to join the vibrant community of all the people who love manufacturing and culture and are passionate about both. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your friends, colleagues, your grandma, anyone who might find it valuable. And don't forget to rate and review the show on whatever platform you're listening or watching to this. Your feedback helps grow, helps me become better as a host, bring on more guests that you find valuable, and it rockets us up the charts so more people find us every time you leave a review or even rate it. So thank you very much, folks, for tuning in. Keep pushing boundaries, stay inspired, and we'll see you next time on the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. Bye.